What's up everyone? In this video I'm going to answer one of the most common questions people ask me. That's, should I train with the gi or without the gi? And we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of both. We'll do a few case studies and eventually you can decide for yourself if you should train in the gi, without the gi, or a combination of both. Let's start with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi. First big advantage is hygiene. The gi is going to protect you from a lot of skin-to-skin contact. It's going to absorb a lot of the sweat, so if you're a very neat person, you're very scared of getting somebody else's sweat on you, the gi is going to be your best option. So another big benefit of the gi is that the ranking is very clear. Whenever you go to a gym or a new gym maybe, you can see right away if somebody is a black belt or a white belt and you won't get surprised. When I go and teach a seminar and it's no gi, you never know what's really gonna happen. So you might think somebody is a complete beginner and suddenly they start yanking heel hooks on you. That can be a little bit intense. Whereas in the gi, you can see right away, this person is a white belt, this person is a purple belt, this person is a black belt. So the ranking is a lot clearer in the gi. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi is also quite a bit slower than no gi. So if you're starting out, you wanna have some time to think, to find a solution, BJJ in the gi is gonna be the better option because of the friction, because of the grips, everything is slowed down quite a bit, teaching you how to think and solve problems in a little bit of a slower way than no gi does it. In the gi there's a lot more options. Instead of just grabbing your partner's body, their wrists, their legs, their hips, in the gi you can also grab the fabric. So you can grab sleeves, you can grab lapels, you can grab the belt, a lot of different options, opening a whole new area of jiu-jitsu, lapel guards, spider guards, so a lot more options in the gi. In the gi, technique is a little bit more important than in no gi. In no gi, a lot of things will depend on speed and power, whereas in the gi, if you lock somebody up, all that counts, all that works from there is technique. So I'd say the gi is a little bit more technical than no gi. And another big argument for the gi, and this is especially for people that are oriented more towards self-defense, is that the gi is realistic for self-defense in the winter. So if you're wearing a lot of clothes, if you're wearing a jacket, a sweater, the gi is gonna be closer to simulating that than no gi would be. All right, so there you have the big benefits of the gi. Now, let's talk about the benefits of no gi. Okay, so in no gi, one of the biggest benefits is that it's light packing. Whenever you're traveling for a competition or just for fun or to teach seminars, if you're doing it no gi, all you need is a small bag. You can put 2-3 sets of it and it's not gonna take any space. Or if you're traveling with the gi, you're gonna have to need a suitcase or you have to economize on the other things you bring. So for travel, no gi is a lot easier than the gi. So in no gi, there's no clear ranking. You never know the level of your partner that you're going up against. So you might want to go in for a nice flow roll with a blue belt and suddenly you're going in against a black belt. Or the other way around, you might want to have a nice technical roll with a brown belt and suddenly you get a super aggressive white belt. In the gi you can see it, in no gi it's a little bit harder to see, so you have to roll with somebody before you find out what level they are. No gi is quite a bit faster than the gi. Sometimes the gi can be annoying because you get stuck, you can't get out of a position, whereas in no gi it's always, or almost always, unless you're going against somebody very strong, possible to break the grips, reset and start a new position. So it's a lot faster than the gi. In no gi, more submissions are allowed. In the gi there are more options in general because you have more grips, but in most competitions for no gi they allow more submissions. Toe holds, knee bars are usually allowed a little bit earlier and heel hooks are allowed in no gi, whereas they're almost never allowed in the gi. In no gi, athleticism plays a bigger role than in the gi. In the gi, if you're very technical, you can always lock somebody that's stronger and more explosive than you up. In no gi, it's gonna be a lot harder. Of course, there's ways to deal with explosive, strong people in no gi, but it's gonna play a lot bigger role than it would in the gi. So then, again, the topic of self-defense. Whereas in the winter, the gi might be the most realistic. In the summer, when you're going to the beach or you're just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, no gi is actually the more realistic option for self-defense. So if you do self-defense and that's your main goal in jiu-jitsu, you're gonna have to do both. Now we'll talk about a few of the positions and how they differ in gi versus no gi. First, passing the guard in a loose manner. It's gonna be a lot harder in no gi to pass the guard when everything is loose because you can make strong grips on the pants. It's harder to secure a position. People can always bench press you off, whereas in the gi you have strong grips on the pants and when you get past those legs you can hold on very tight. So loose passing, a lot harder in no gi, a lot easier in the gi. On the opposite side of the spectrum, guard with tension is going to be a lot easier in no gi, a lot harder in the gi. because in nogi there's always a little bit of space, there's always a little bit of wiggle room to get a limb inside, whereas in the gi you'll get pinned down by that gi. On the other side we have guards where you are locked in, like a spider guard, a lasso guard. That's going to be a lot harder to pass in the gi, where it's going to be easier to pass in nogi. Then leg locks. Like we talked about, in nogi they usually allow for more leg locks. So leg locks are usually the best option in nogi. One exception, the foot lock is going to work better in the gi, because now you can control the collar, making it harder for them to escape, and there's a little bit more friction with the gi. So foot locks work better in the gi, most other leg locks are only allowed in nogi. Okay, then escaping bad positions, that's going to be a lot harder in the gi, because again there's that fabric, that friction, people can hold you down, whereas in nogi there's always a little bit of wiggle room, always a way to slip out of something, so escapes are going to be easier in nogi. Then for takedowns, in the gi the takedowns are going to be more judo based, and in nogi the takedowns are going to be more wrestling based. They have a little bit of overlap, but that's generally how the takedowns look for both. If you combine gi and nogi, you're going to have the best of both worlds. Some skills are easier to are harder in the gi, for example. Let's take guard retention as an example. If you train in the gi, you develop a good gi guard retention. Your guard retention in nogi is going to be a lot easier, because it's just easier compared to the gi. So by combining the two, you can learn skill sets of one and apply it in the other. If you're really good at pinning in nogi, pinning in the gi is going to be a walk in the park. If you're really good at guard retention in the gi, guard retention in nogi is going to be a walk in the park. So combining the two will develop your skills further than it would if you just trained one of the two options. Another good reason to combine both gi and nogi is that it keeps things fresh. If you focus on gi for a while, might get a little bit bored of it, you can focus on nogi again. And the competition seasons usually reflect this. End of the year, from August onwards to December, it's nogi season, and start of the year, January till July, it's usually gi season. So that keeps things fresh. Of course, you should train both at the same time, but by doing a lot of focus on one thing for a period and then the other, it keeps things fresh. You don't have to switch to a different sport. Again, the two martial arts complement each other very well, grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it keeps things fresh. You get new challenges, new positions you can work on. So mentally, it's a lot more stimulating. So, like I said, combining the two is going to be the best for most, because you learn different skill sets and you keep things fresh. Now, we'll look at 3 case studies where that might not be the case. First one is the hygiene freak. I know a few people that are very hygiene conscious. They don't want to have a lot of skin-to-skin contact. I'm not going to name any names, but the gi might be your best option then, because there's more coverage of the body, less sweat floating around, and it's going to be a little bit cleaner option. So if you're a hygiene freak, gi might be the best one. Now, if you're a beginner, I would also say lean towards the gi a little bit more. Things slow down, you have more time to think about the solutions. And yeah, it might be a better experience to start with the gi. Also, if you want to go to nogi later on, it's going to be easier transition than if you would go from nogi to the gi later on. Okay, so if you're starting out, I would recommend training a little bit more gi than nogi. Now, for the elite athletes, usually you'll see eventually they pick. It's very rare these days to have people that are super good at both. When I came up in Jiu-Jitsu, you saw the people that were really good in the gi were also really good in nogi, but over the last few years, they're developed like a split. People focus either a lot on the gi or a lot on nogi. Few exceptions there. Miko Galvao would be a good one, but most of the elite athletes now focus on one or the other. And this is also my experience. I always competed both gi and nogi, but at black belt I decided to focus a little bit more on nogi, as I wanted to compete at the highest level in that. And I felt if I split my energy between both, I couldn't achieve as a high level as I wanted to achieve. So for elite athletes, and this is, I'd say, you should be at least a brown or black belt to make this decision. You should focus on one or the other. All right, there you have it. Some advice for training gi or nogi. Like I said, would recommend training both, and if you're starting out, lean a little bit more towards the gi. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.